Hello and welcome to GameSack. In this episode, we're going to talk a lot about portable video game systems.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit, probably more than you even know, so I think we should really just jump right into it.
Yeah, what game system do you want to talk about first?
Well, naturally, I'd like to talk about Nintendo's. But first, I'd like to preface by saying we're probably not going to talk about any Game & Watch or Mattel or Tiger, just because they're so simple and there's really not a lot of action to it. Where the Game Boy exploded, and that's where the action started. So
let's get to it.
And here we have the original Game Boy, released in 1989 in the United States. This is actually a very comfortable system to hold. It's got the screen on top, buttons on bottom. It's just the right thickness that it's not going to cramp your hands. It uses 4 AA batteries that last, anywhere, I'm thinking around 5 to 7 hours, just a guess. It has interchangeable cartridges, as you all know. What made this thing so popular, God only knows, but I'm sure it's the amount of games that were available for it, because it sure as heck wasn't the screen, LCD screen that used 4 shades of gray for the color and no backlighting, had to play in direct light. And here we have the Game Boy Pocket, obviously called the Pocket because it is a lot smaller than the original Game Boy. It is now all in black and white instead of pea green. It's got runs on 2 AAA batteries this time instead of AA's, and for at least 10 hours of gameplay. It plays only original Game Boy games, no Game Boy Color games here, as obviously it's still a black and white system.
Are we done with the Game Boy stuff yet?
Nope. And here we have the Game Boy Color. This is the natural progression, I'd say, of the Game Boy design. It is now smaller. It uses 2 AA batteries instead of 4, actually even prolong the battery life of the system. So you could play a lot more games with less battery power. The cartridges now come in a different, still pretty much the same design. There is one little upgrade that fills in this corner, so you can't play it on an original Game Boy. It only will work in a Game Boy Color system. So, and obviously being Game Boy Color, it added color to the games, which is a huge step above, but it still has no backlit screen. You still have to play in direct light, but still same design, good stereo sound with headphones. And here we have the Game Boy Advance. This is a 32-bit portable system. It's quite good. Obviously redesigned. It's gone for kind of a landscape mode where your buttons are on both sides of the screen, which, you know, is okay, but it does get uncomfortable after a while. The system is still not backlit. There's no lighting for this thing, so you still have to play in direct light. It's a good system. It had a ton of good games on it, but just the backlighting was just kind of crazy. The design was crazy. Nintendo realized this, and they later on redesigned it. And here we have the Game Boy Advance SP. So with this redesign from the original Game Boy Advance, Nintendo did quite a bit of stuff, which is actually all around just great. First, they redesigned the whole system to be kind of a clamshell design, which is awesome. This is the first redesign of the SP, which has a button right in the middle here where you can turn the front lighting on the screen on or off to conserve battery power if you want. Speaking of batteries, this has a rechargeable battery now instead of AA's, which the Game Boy Advance took. So at night you can just plug it in and recharge it until it's full, and it's, in my opinion, is awesome because you don't have to buy freaking AA batteries anymore. So this is an awesome redesign of the Game Boy Advance SP. And then after that, believe it or not, they had one more redesign of this system. It's not actually redesigned, but one more feature. The screen now is backlit on this design. It's a backlit screen, and you have the power to turn the screen from a normal to a super bright mode, which was awesome.
Are we done with the Game Boy Advance stuff yet?
This is the Game Boy Micro. As you can see, it is pretty micro in size, as all that really fits on there is the screen, the buttons, and the directional pad. This one right here is the Famicom version, which was not released in the United States. But the thing that made this, that Nintendo really tried to get people to buy it, was that it had interchangeable faceplates that you could take on and off. I remember it came with 2 or 3 of them with the system, and you could buy them separately also if you wanted to. Nintendo tried to get people to buy this like this, but the problem was the DS was coming out, and interest in the Game Boy Advance was really waning at that time. Okay, now here we have the Nintendo DS. As some of you may or may not remember, Nintendo said that this is definitely not the successor to the Game Boy, because the Game Boy line is living on and this is just a new venture for them. But where's the Game Boy now? It's gone. This is the Nintendo DS, obviously DS called the dual screen. This is the new system that came out with a touch screen. The bottom screen is a touch screen, the top is not. This is the first version. It's pretty good. A little clunky looking when it's closed down. It doesn't really fit together too well, but you know, it serves its purpose. The screen is pretty good. It's a little saturated in my opinion, and not as great as some of the revisions what we're going to talk about after this. Alright, and here we have the first revision of the DS. This is the DS Lite, which as you can see is a little bit smaller. Pretty much just some cosmetic changes like where the start select button is and the power and volume buttons. But this one is definitely a better design. As you can see, it looks much better as it is closed instead of like the original DS. But like the original DS, this still plays Game Boy Advance games. So you can play those along with your whole library of DS games.
Oh man, are we done with the DS stuff yet?
Nope, there's one big one left. Okay, and here, this monstrosity is the DSi XL. They've also released a DSi model, which is a lot smaller than this one, but I chose to wait and get the DSi XL as it has a lot bigger screens, which makes my enjoyment of the games a little bit more. So, again, people are saying Nintendo put this out just on to get some more money, and yeah, you know what, it's true, but they did add some cool stuff to this, such as a camera that you can take pictures with and mess around and fool around with them. They added an audio program which you can record voices and sound effects and mess around with those. Also on this revision, Nintendo put on a slot for an SD card, which added lots of space to put all your sound bites on, your pictures, and stuff downloaded from the Nintendo eShop. It does not play Game Boy Advance games. They took out that backwards compatibility. But overall, it's a good step, I think, and obviously I bought it and I like it. So, but this is the last one before Nintendo's next big system came out.
Wow, Dave, Nintendo really likes to make tons and tons of revisions of all their portable game systems.
Yeah, they definitely do, and you know, why not? I mean, I like to spend money just like every other fool out there, and Nintendo's a good company to give it to.
Well, let's look at a Nintendo video game system that was marketed as a portable, but wasn't quite so lucky in the amount of revisions it got. The Virtual Boy.
Nice. So, do you mind if I duct tape it to my head and walk around and fall around the streets and stuff?
No. Instead, we're gonna do what we always do. Sit around and talk about it and be boring, just like the Virtual Boy itself. Oh, no. This is stupid. I don't like the Virtual Boy. It's dumb. It has just one color, red, and I'm chained to a single location with this. I can't walk around with this. This isn't a true portable.
I don't see your argument, Joe. I really don't. Let me try. This is awesome, man. What are you talking about? Alright, and here's Nintendo's latest effort in the portable market. This is the Nintendo 3DS. Games still come on a SD style card. The system is touted as a 3D system, which it is. The top screen is a 3D screen, the bottom is still a 2D touch screen. Games can be turned on and off 3D mode, which I mostly play my games with is 3D off. Upgrades to the system, it's got a cool little analog stick here, which is very comfortable. And if games are properly programmed, it works really well. This still has a lot of online features like the eShop and wireless gameplay with friends. And speaking of the eShop, Nintendo has released The Legend of Zelda: The Four Swords Adventure for the 25th anniversary of the Zelda. This is a free download, and I implore all of you to go and download it, as this is one of the better Zelda games out there, in my opinion, because it kind of takes on the style of A Link to the Past, and it adds a huge multiplayer element to it, which is just all-out kick-ass fun.
So are we done with the Nintendo stuff yet?
Yes, Joe, we are done.
Oh, thank goodness. You know, with all the units that Nintendo has made, it really is no wonder that they practically own the portable market.
Well, I wouldn't say practically own, I'd say they definitely do own. They're definitely the proven kings of the portables.
Yeah, except for maybe the Virtual Boy or the 3DS so far.
I'll give you the Virtual Boy for sure, but the 3DS is a sleeping giant. You just wait and watch.
Oh, I will. Now let's look at the non-Nintendo side of portable gaming. This is the Sega Game Gear. It is amazing. Okay, no, it's not. It's really not. It's actually based kind of on the Master System architecture, except it adds a few things like a whole mess of colors. It has 4,096 colors instead of 64. It takes 6 AA batteries that go in there. It has stereo sound. The Master System did not. And the battery, this thing just eats up batteries like crazy. It's insane. So what they did is they came out with the battery dildo, which you plug this into your Game Gear up here, and this gives you a longer battery life once you recharge this, because this dildo is rechargeable. And the Game Gear actually has a few interesting accessories that I want to talk about. First is the TV tuner. You plug it in, turn it on, watch your favorite shows on here. Of course, with digital TV, this is pretty much useless these days, so I don't know why anyone would want it. And there's also the Master Gear converter, which you can plug in, plug your favorite Master System game in there and play it just like you were playing on a portable Master System, which is really what this is. The Turbo Express. Now this system is pretty awesome. We all know how great the TurboGrafx 16 was, right? Right. And this system played the exact same games as the TurboGrafx 16, only it was portable, so this didn't have any exclusive games. It played all TurboGrafx 16 games. And as you can see back here, it takes about 900 AA batteries, which is insane. I think it lasts like 45 minutes on all of them, if that. It does have a TV tuner, and what's interesting about this TV tuner is that it has a video and sound input, so you can plug in your Sega Genesis and play it on your Turbo Express. But this game system is it's pretty awesome for its time. This is the Sega Nomad. Now this thing is completely awesome because you know what it is? It's a Sega Genesis, and the Sega Genesis is awesome. It takes regular Sega Genesis games just like the Turbo Express does with its system, so you can play all of your favorite Genesis games on the go. It has 6 buttons, so you can play your Street Fighter, and what's weird is it has an AV out on here, so you can actually hook it up to a TV. It has a second controller input, so you can plug in another controller here and play with a friend. It's amazing. Now it takes also about, maybe 800 batteries, but they last, I don't know, maybe an hour, 2 hours, not incredibly long, but plug in an AC adapter or whatever. The D-pad isn't really the best, and you've got to remember to hold down the mode button for some of the 6-button games, since the 6-button controller is built in. But other than that, it's a really great portable system, and I recommend it to all Genesis owners. Unfortunately, they didn't make enough for all of you to have one. And let's not forget about Sega's best handheld portable ever, the Sega VMU. This thing is amazing. It could download minigames from select Dreamcast games, and you could play them on the go with this little D-pad, these little buttons, and these 2 even smaller buttons that only ants could press. This thing is awesome. Maybe you've seen the commercial.
Introducing the Sega Dreamcast VMU. It's the ultimate in portable video game entertainment. Extreme portability means that no matter where you are, you're a winner. Driving around town will never be boring again with the Sega VMU as your passenger. Don't think you can keep all of that excitement to yourself. You'll want to tell all of your friends about the amazing gameplay experience that they are missing out on by not partaking in the Sega VMU. You can even join 2 Sega VMUs together for electrifying 2-player head-to-head gameplay. An experience so mind-numbing you may forget not to wet yourself. The Sega Dreamcast Visual Memory Unit. Outlawed in 7 states. Please keep out of reach pets, children, senior citizens, and the Amish.
Pure awesome. This is the Atari Lynx. It was designed by Epyx and marketed by Atari. Now this actually is the first portable console with a backlit screen. It takes 6 AA batteries, and what's interesting about the Lynx is it has a little screen flip button, so if you're not right-handed like most people, you can turn it over and play like a friggin' moron. But no one does that. And then you turn it on and play, and you just have a blast with the actually good Lynx games that are out. The Geo Pocket Color. Now, the Neo Geo Pocket Black and White never got released in America, but the Color did, and this will play both of those games. But this system really has some good games. It was really fun to play. I love the little stick here. It's a micro switch stick, and it's really, really comfortable. The whole thing is really comfortable. Unfortunately, it's not backlit, and playing games can be kind of tough, but the games are really, really good. It has all of the power of the original Neo Geo in here. Wait, no, it doesn't. It has all the power of maybe half a Game Boy Advance. In fact, it's not very powerful at all. But that doesn't mean it's not fun. Go get one. No, go get 3 today. And this is the Wonderswan Color, an upgrade from the original Wonderswan Black and White unit. Both units were only ever released in Japan. This can play the black and white and color games. The games come on cartridges kind of shaped like Game Boy Advance games, more or less. And the system itself is kind of very Game Boy Advancey, maybe a little bit lower in technology. And it has 2 different areas with D-pads on it. As you can see, the D-pad is their own 4 different buttons. And someone put a disc on the lower D-pad here, and it actually works pretty well. And then you have your B and A buttons over here. And what's weird about the Wonderswan is that it doesn't have a volume control per se. There's a sound button right here, and you press it to mute the system, and then there's like 2 different levels of sound, like kind of quiet and then overbearingly loud, and then back to no sound at all. It's too bad it wasn't released in the US, but you know, it probably would never have had a chance. The Sony PlayStation Portable, or PSP for short. Now, this plays its own unique games on a little thing called a UMD. It's like a little disk drive, and the games kind of come in like this proprietary mini disc like format, and it has loading times, but you know, there are a lot of games on here which are really cool. There's a lot of cool things you can do with the system. The screen is just giant, especially for its time, and it really is a good system. I highly recommend it. Now, I wouldn't go out and buy the PSP Go version because that's kind of chintzy. It doesn't have disk drive capabilities. You have to download all of your games. But you know, as much as I enjoyed the PSP, I'm really looking forward to the PlayStation Vita, it's called, I guess. And I recommend checking this out if you can find it for a good price. And of course, we can't forget about devices like the iPhone and Android devices. They really have a big share of the portable gaming market. But we're not going to talk about them much because they're not dedicated gaming devices. But they exist and you can have fun with them. Wow, Dave, this was actually pretty good. Talking about portable systems was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah, Joe, definitely. And I hope you've learned that portable gaming is actually a very legitimate part of the gaming industry. So, and I'd like to say hello to little Dwayne down there in Texas. I hope everything's doing all right, Dwayne.
Oh, he's fine. He just has a bubonic plague. Anyway, what's your favorite portable system?
Joe, that's a tough one because I really like them all. All of them have, even still the old Game Boy has awesome games that I like to play, even as dated as it is. I'm not going to pinpoint any one of them because I've enjoyed them all very, very much.
Okay then.
What about you?
Well, mine is the DS because it really surprised me with how good it is. Once you get past all the shovelware, there are some really awesome titles to find, and I have a lot of titles that I own for it, and it just really is a good system.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. So, well, thanks for joining us, and let us know what your favorite portable is and why, and we'll see you next time around.
Dude, I can't see. Tilt it towards me. I need to see.
Oh,
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
but now I can't see now.
I don't care.
What?
Dude, get that thing up there.
All right.
Dude, I can't see. Come on. Enough of this.
This isn't gonna work, Joe.